I love to make stuff from movies. And Ant Man and the Wasp Quantumania just came out, and it's a really great movie. So it kind of makes sense, you know? I kind of want to make something from the movie. Now, obviously I'd love to make something functional, but the thing is the physics in this movie are a little bit mushy. So unfortunately it's just going to be a cool looking prop. So the first thing I did was make a cardboard model, based on a poster for Quantumania. Then I turned this into a 3D model, which you can find down in the description. I already had this belt that looked sorta like the one in the movie, and the strap completely separates from the buckle, so it was easy to design a part around that. Then I sanded down the parts that were going to be painted using some 220 grit and a few needle files. I drilled out a hole in the center ring here for an LED, which I never ended up putting in, but I guess this goes to show how important it is to have a good grip on your part. Then I applied a heavyish coat of spray primer and sanded it down. Why did I choose to spray the part directly on my hand? I don't know, you tell me. Anyways, I sanded them back down with some 220 grit and repeated the process a few times. After a final coat, I went in using the back of a knife to score all of the edges, and no, this is not an ASMR channel. Now we can apply the black undercoat. For the larger piece, I went with a satin black, and for the disc, I used a gloss black. Links to everything down below. In order to speed up the drying time and avoid any weird dripping, I used very light coats and hit it with the heat gun on the low setting to dry it. By the way, if you're wondering what happened to my hand, I smashed the subscribe button a little too hard. If you've gotten value so far, feel free to join me. If not, that's cool too. Now we can start the meticulous operation of taping. This weird orange skinny tape works great for projects like this. I always use a lot of little pieces rather than a few large pieces to make sure everything is as precise as possible. Then I press it down with either a pencil or, in this case, a needle file. Even the skinny tape wasn't skinny enough for the tiny gaps up here, so I just used a ruler and an X-Acto knife to cut it, which worked fine. Now we can finally apply a metallic silver to both pieces using the same process of light coats and blowing the heat gun. Now let's just move this a little bit. Don't drop it. Nice. Even when the metallic paint is dry to the touch, it can still be affected by fingerprints. So a good way to test this is to press your finger on one of the parts that is not going to be visible. And in this case, it was good. Again, this is not an ASMR channel. It just happens to be a really satisfying channel. That is often interrupted by very unnecessarily heavy footsteps.
Looks pretty legit to me.
Now we can rough up the surfaces with some 100 grit sandpaper so the glue holds better, and time to assemble.
It's good. It's all stuck together.
As I proceed to break it with a pencil. Now, as we begin the process of weathering, I'm going in with some red oil paint, and once we wipe this off, it'll give the illusion of rust. It's important when doing this to not try and make your props look too perfect. It's the small imperfections and details that really make a prop look like it came out of the world that it was intended to be in. Now I'm just mixing some black and gold acrylic paint with some water and brushing it on and wiping it off. This is a super easy way to make it look more like metal, or if you do it a lot more, it makes it look dirty. Here are the results.